Be'ezrat Hashem, Naaseh v'Natzliach. I want to welcome you to another session of our Parashat Shavua class. This week's Parashat is Parashat Vayishlach. Very, very special class. Baruch Hashem, as usual, good content and a beautiful takeaway at the end of the class. Before we get started, let's do some honorable mentions and dedications for the following sponsors. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Getilatecha Yitbarach Shemo Shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. Be'ezrat Hashem, this class will be in honor of Jacqueline Bat Alia and Tova Shindel Bat Alta. Also, it should be today Ilun Nishmat of David Ben Zohara, Yaniv Ben Rina, Michel Ben Zohara, Aviv Ben Vivi, Esther Bat Alia, Avraham Yoshua Ben Sultana, Simon Ben Alia, Mazal Bat Luna, Yitzchak Ben Sevilla, Nisim Ben Meir, Rachel Bat Bela, Yaakov Ben Tamar. Also, it should be to the Refuah Shelema of Amram Ben Zohara, Lavi Rafael Ben Olga, Daniel Bat Mazal, and Miriam Bat Pesi Penina. Also, this should be for the Zivug Hagud Mishosh Nishmatam, to Inbal Bat Jacqueline, Guy Ben Dina, Shina Henshi Bat Leah Gittel, Eli Ben Shula, Yehudit Bat Sarah Imenu, and Abigail Bat Sarah Imenu. Also, this class will be to the Bracha B'Atzlacha of Avraham Ben Daniel, Avraham Ben Vayot Chaya, Yehuda Lev Ben Tova Shindel, Desiree and Avia. Also, to Joseph Dornbush and the Dornbush family for being a strong supporter of Torah classes for many, many years, and once again making this place available for us, as well as the continued support of Judah Mendel, who actually today had an additional sponsorship. I love this one. Judah Mendel, may Hashem bless you, dedicated this class so the Jewish people are in possession of the entire Eretz Israel, from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates River in our lifetime. It's a new Jewish slogan, instead of from the river to the sea, that he has it from the Mediterranean to Euphrates. Eretz Israel will be free, right? Also to Dov Shmuel and Pesi Penina and family, Hashem Vayich Otchem V'Sameach Otchem, for always supporting the class in person and learning, and now even sponsoring it financially. And also for Abigail Bat Sarah, Yehudit Ben Shabbat, very, very strong supporter of this class. She's dedicating tonight's class and Thursday night's class as well to the successful trip of Rav Israel Abergel Shelita, that had an incredible trip. For any of you that didn't have a chance to see the Rav, the classes are posted online. And also to the success of her children, Meir Asher Ben Yehudit, Noam Elimech Ben Yehudit, and Shammai Avraham Ben Yehudit. Hashem Varech Otchem, Sameach Otchem, and to all the people that are in attendance, welcome. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you guys coming out every single week and learning together. It's because of you that I get this desire and this fervor for the Torah. Besides that, I'm addicted to it, right? I love it anyways. But because you guys show up, I at least want it to be even better than what it would be normally. So to your credit, to your merit, that these classes go out into the world and hundreds and sometimes thousands of hours are being learned. So Hashem Vayich Otchem, Sameach Otchem, Hashem Yimaleh et kol mishot libechem letovah. Amen. So here we are, Parashat Vayishlach. Let me catch you up, because this is a chock full of nuts. This particular parasha, there's so much going on, but we're only going to concentrate on one or two very interesting points in this parasha. But we see that Yaakov was running away from his evil twin brother Esav that wanted to kill him, because two reasons up to this point. One, he took for the selling of the birthright. Two, for the blessing that he got from his father Yitzchak. Yaakov, because of this pending or looming threat of his brother that wants to murder him, leaves the house of his parents and goes to his uncle's house, goes to Bet Lavan in order to find the bride. While there, the whole story where Yaakov goes in single and comes out with 4 wives, 11 children, and after 20 years of working for Lavan and being cheated for 100 times over on his pay, he says, I've had enough, I'm out, I'm ready to go. As he's leaving, he has to not go face his brother. He has to go face Esav now. So what does he do? First pasuk in the parasha, Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav. Yaakov sends messengers, angels ahead of him in order to meet his father Esav, Achiv, his brother. And he tells him over there, Vayitzav otam le'emor, he commands him to say, Ko temun la'adoni Esav, this is what you should say to my master Esav. Ko amar avdecha Yaakov, im Lavan garti, va'echar adata. He says, I lived with Lavan, and I was there up until now. I lingered there up until now. I'm ready to come back. Chazal tell us, when he was Vayishlach Yaakov malachim nefanav, he's sending these messengers to give him a message. Chazal tell us three things, that either I'm going to give you doron, tefillah, or milchama. Meaning what? What did he send these angels for, these messengers for? First, to announce that he's coming, and he's going to be giving gifts to Esav. Doron is a gift. And we know he had all the cows, all the camels, all the donkeys that he was giving. And if the messengers come back with a negative reaction to his offer, then he's going to step into level 2. Tefillah, I got to start praying. It's not going to be a peaceful interaction. He's not going to interact with me in a brotherly way. He's going to be my arch nemesis, my enemy. And after tefillah, it's going to be milchama. Then I have to prepare myself for war. So he says, Vayishlach Yaakov melachim. Why did Yaakov send these angels? For three things. Doron, tefillah, milchama. Either to start off with a peace treaty, or to pray for a successful interaction with his evil twin brother, or for war. And Yaakov was ready for three. Ironically, it still seems to be today our way of interacting with our enemies. First, we offer peace, right? We don't want to fight. Can we find a resolution? Our hand gets stretched out for about 30 years. You don't want to shake it. Eventually, what we do, we have to pray to Hashem that we win, because we have to go to war, as we can witness it today. This is not going to be a class about the current events. Just going to let you know. Those are so good, but I always want to stick in a couple of classic Torah lessons without having to do everything that's on the news, if you don't mind. But we'll come back. There's one cooking. There's a good one cooking. Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay. Perek Lamed Gimel, Pasuk Dalet, through you Dalet. Let's read this section. It'll give us some background, and then we'll dig in. So here we are. They finally meet up. All the gifts have come forward to Esav. Esav is there with his 400 generals. Yaakov is there with his people, his wives, his children, his flock, everything that belongs to him. It's a standoff. And now Yaakov sees Esav. What's going to happen? It's so dramatic. It's finally here. This is like in a movie. This would be like the crescendo music. Oh, you know, when they look eye to eye. And what happens now? It's going to be like a dead still moment, and then somebody's going to open up their mouth and speak, right? It happens right here. וירוץ עשיו לקראתו, ויחבקהו, ויפול על צוואריו, וישקהו, ויבכו. Esav runs towards him. He hugs him. He falls on his neck. He kisses him, and they cry. If you look at the word Vayishakehu in the Torah, it has 5 dots on it. Chazal tell us, you know it's Vayishakehu? It's bunny ears, as if he kissed him. They said he was like a vampire. He came to bite his neck and suck his blood. He wanted to kill him with that bite. And Yaakov's neck turned to marble, and he broke his teeth. And maybe that's why he was crying. But not necessarily because they met each other and they were so sensitive to that moment. Nevertheless, let's continue. Esav looks at what's in front of him. He sees the woman, he sees the children, he says, who are these? These are the kids that God graced me with. So first line of introduction were Zbilha and Zilpa and their children, and they bowed down. Then Leah comes and her children, they bow down. Then Yosef and Rachel come and they bow down. He says, what is this, all this this whole camp that I met? that you gain favor in the Lord's eyes, meaning it seems like you're doing well for yourself. 4 wives, 11 children, you got, all this livestock, you got it looks like you're doing good. Vayomer Esav, yesh li rav achi, yeh lecha shelach. Esav tells him, I have plenty, my brother. Let what you have remain yours. Meaning, this gift, this parade of animals that you've given over here as a gift to me. No, thank you. I don't need it. What's yours is yours. What's mine is mine. It's so weird. Esav is all about this world. It's all about more, more, more. Give me more food. Give me more money. Give me more livestock. Give me more money. Give me more jewels. He's turning it down. So I saw Midrash that said, he said, I had enough of this guy. Last time I dealt with him, I lost my birthright. Last time that I dealt with him, I lost my bracha for my father. Now, I don't know what he's up to. Leave me alone. What's yours is yours. What's mine is mine. I don't want to interact anymore. Right? ויאמר יעקב אל נא אם נא מצאתי חן בעיניך ולקחת מנחתי מידי כי על כן ראיתי פניך כי לא פני אלוהים ותרצני. He says, please, if you could take my gifts, my brother, wait, hold on. I beg you, if I found favor in your eyes, accept my tribute. And as much as I've seen your face, it's like I'm seeing the face of the divine. Please be appeased by me. Why? Because Yaakov wants a sulha. You know what's a sulha? Let's make up. Let bygones be bygones. I want you to be happy. Take a gift so like that. I know you don't want to kill me anymore. He says, please take the blessing that I brought towards you. God has given me a lot. He twisted his arm and Esav took it. He says, you know what? Now that we're brothers, now that you've given me such a fancy gift, wanna go continue together? Let's go live together, right? He says over here, he wants to connect. He says, travel and let us go, and I'll go alongside you. And here's the big pasuk. These are the last 2 pasukim. He says, ויאמר אליו אדוני, יודע כי הילדים רכים, והצאן והבקר עלות עליי, ודפקום יום אחד, ומתו כל הצאן. So what does he tell them? He says, Esav, the children, they're rakim, they're tender, they're weak. And all the nursing flocks, I have to tend to them. I have to feed them. All the flocks and the cattle are upon my responsibility. And if I drive them too hard, if my children, my soft children, and my fragile flock and cattle go traveling for a single day, all of them will die. I can't go. He gives them the reason is what? The flock and the children. You should go ahead of me. And I will go slowly. I'll manage myself slowly for the job that's in hand. Because of the cattle that I have and the children that I'm taking care of. Until I come to the point where we are, I'll meet you there. I'll see you there. I'll see you in Seirah. Okay, so we see over here that Yaakov was able to achieve peace with his brother. He was also rejected the offer to live together. His rejection was that the children are weak, and he also gets rid of it by saying, you know what, but I'll catch up to you. And it worked. It worked. Esav went one way, and Yaakov went another. I want to stop right here, and let's start drilling down. Into what's going on here behind the scenes. When Yaakov said, "Ya'avor na Adoni lifnei avdo," go ahead of me, "V'ani etnahela leiti leregel ha'melacha," and I'll manage my children and my flock slowly until I catch up to you in Seirah. And this was a complete rejection of this peace offering from Esav. Why would that be? Wouldn't it be like this a perfect opportunity to let bygones be bygones and let family finally get along, finally live together? They'd be so powerful, they'd be so rich, they'd be so influential. they're twins. Wouldn't it be great if Esav and Yaakov lived together? Yaakov says no. He says, he rejects him. And the reason why is שעבודתו של יעקב אבינו היה לדאוג לקדושת ילדיו. Yaakov Avinu knew that his sole purpose in this world is protect the sanctity and holiness of his children. Let's just stop here and just do a quick thing of how we got to this point. We have Abraham who married Sarah. Well, put it this way. Abraham had two children. He had Ishmael, which is the psolet, and Yitzchak, which is the ikar. The psolet is meaning the negative part of his seed, and then the ikar is the main thing, the pure part of his seed. So we have Abraham. He had Ishmael, which is the psolet, and Yitzchak, which is the ikar. Okay, Yitzchak. Yitzchak also had two kids. He had Esav, which was the psolet, and then you had Yaakov, which was the ikar. Great. Now you have Yaakov. Yaakov had all perfect 12 children. There's no psolet. So now that he has 12 perfect children, his main focus is that these kids stay what? Holy. There's no psolet. There's no, what's the word that I'm looking for? There's no imperfection in his offspring. Thank you. So it goes like this. Because he was so concerned with the sanctity of his children, he wasn't going to agree to living alongside Esav. Why? Because his children, they will learn the ways of Esav, and they will learn they'll learn his evil ways, his bad ways. But it's your brother, it's their uncle, it's family. You can't not be around family. Yeah, you can not be around family. If they're a bad influence on your children, don't be with the family. Yaakov Avinu says, my own brother I won't let my children be around. My own brother. They're nephews. They're cousins. They can't be. You know why? They're a bad influence. My kids are yeshiva kids. They're in, whatever. I don't want to say to offend anybody. What are you going to do? They're a bad influence. I'll use myself as an example, not to offend anyone. I have many friends. I love them. I know them for many years, 10, 20, some even 30 years. And we started off as kids, friends in elementary school or in high school or after high school or friends, in the workplace, so on and so forth. And comes the moment where you want to meet up. And it's a barbecue, or it's a Shabbat, or it's a family holiday. And all of a sudden he shows up and there they are, like 20 gorillas walking into the house, about to terrorize the house, and they're nowhere close to the chinuch that you're doing with your children. What do you do? What do you do? Well, first you regret the fact that you didn't check it before. That you didn't pull the Yaakov move. That you checked the father and the children before. And if you do realize it, it's a lesson learned to never do it again. That you have to make sure. Because you have children that their speech is not correct, that their manners are wrong, and you let your kids be around them for 24 hours, you know what they do? They press record and they repeat. Yaakov says, no way are they going to be around my wicked brother Esav or his children. So one of the reasons that he said no is because of chinuch, because he didn't want his children to be exposed to the wrong ideology, to the wrong people, even if they're family. Furthermore, it says in the pasuk, Va'ani et nahala leiti leregel hamelacha. I want to focus in on just these words. Va'ani, Yaakov is saying, and I will. Et nahala is like from the word lenahel. I will manage. I will manage myself. Leiti, slowly. Why? Leregel hamelacha. I have a job. I have a task at hand. What does that mean? Yaakov, in not so many words, is telling Esav, I'm going to manage my household slow and steady. My chinuch race is slow and steady. Meaning when you want to educate your children, Etnahela le'iti. I'm going to manage my household. Slowly but surely, we're going to win the chinuch race. Slowly but surely, we're going to get to that perfect tzaddik. How? I don't rush into things. I take things slow. I'm not going to, as soon as I see my brother who make peace, okay, let's go, throw myself into a situation and see that it's a mistake. I slow down. I have to make sure that I'm making the right decision for me and for my family, and I'm concerned about managing my family more than the peace with my evil twin brother. Etnahela iti. I want to stop right here and give a little bit about chinuch. The Pele Yoetz says about the way we educate our children. Something very interesting. It says in Mishle, Chanoch lanar al pi darko, gam ki yaskin lo yasu mimena. It says, it's a very famous line when it comes to educating children. It says when you are teaching your children or when you're educating your children, do it according to their path, right? Al pi darko. Gam ki yaskin, just even when they get older, lo yasu mimena. He won't go astray from that path, that righteous path that you're teaching him. Here, much has been said, al pi darko, on his path. Is it the children's path? Is it the parents' path? Is it God's path? Is it Avraham Avinu's path? Which path are we teaching the children? So it's all of them actually. First we do it according to Avraham Avinu's path. Avraham Avinu is the prototype Jew. He showed us exactly how to be an Ish Chesed. Or we can say all the Avot, the way of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They are our life coaches of Sefer Bereshit. Al pi darko, the derech of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does it say in the Torah? That's the way we teach our children. Or if the father is a prime example of being a good father and a good Jew, Chanoch lanar, educate the nar. Who's the nar? He's your nar. He's your boy. It's your job. It's your job to teach your children the right way. So you, lepi darko, the father's righteous path, pass it on to your children. And of course, Chanoch lanar al pi darko, if the child has his own way. Some children like music. Some children like sports. Some children like to be handy with their hands. Some children like to use their brain. Some people like to, they have a certain talent. And like imagine the father's into construction and the kid wants to play a cello. He's growing up. The guy's putting him into tractors, into forklifts. He's like, oh, this is where you're going to succeed. And all he wants to do is just hold a violin and play music. That's not pi darko. It's what you want. It's not what he wants. You also have to find your kid's talent and push him in that direction and help him in that direction. So al pi darko is cryptic because there's many different ways that a person can learn this pasuk from Mishle. However, Pele Yoetz opens up his section about chinuch with this pasuk. Chanoch lanar al pi darko, gam ki yaskin lo yasu mimena. Because if you do that, if you do educate the child in the way of God, in the way of the patriarchs, in the way of the righteous parent, and in the path that he should be led on, because he gets a God-given talent that you discovered and you are sort of like nurturing it. Zo mitzvah ta'av ala ben lechancho b'torah mitzvot. The mitzvah, the obligation, the duty, the responsibility of the father is to educate the child by the way of Torah and mitzvot. In other words, turn him onto the instruction manual. Take the Chumash and start teaching him a Jewish way of life. So they be able to get to the reality where they can choose on their own how to choose right over bad. Meaning eventually, the way you educate your children, that they can, you could take the training wheels off and they can choose between good and bad. Once you've gone to that point where a child can choose for himself good and bad, your job is somewhat done. Maybe the chinuch is done, but as a parent, it's never done. Nobody concurs?
On the way.
I got an absolute agree.
Absolutely.
Furthermore,
Job security 24/7 for life.
There you go. ולחנכם בדרך ארץ ומידות טובות וישרות באופן שכל רעיהם יכירום כי הם זרע ברך השם. And by the way, you know how it's a job well done? You know how you know if you did a good job as a parent? That you educate them in derech eretz. They should have manners. They should have. They should be midot tovot, good attributes, good characteristic traits. באופן שכל רואיהם יכירום כי הם זרע השם ברך השם. But like that when every time somebody lays eyes on your child, they say, "What a good Jewish boy! Oh, what a good Jewish girl!" Meaning that they lay eyes on your child, and the chinuch that you gave them is a perfect example of what a good Jewish boy or girl they are. What a product you were able to produce. Furthermore, he also has to educate them to give honor to people. And briot is all creations, Jew and Gentile alike. Have derech eretz, be cordial, have manners. They shouldn't be brazen or stubborn. Let them be the ones that can take a rebuke or be chastised, and they don't get hurt by it. Why? Because they understand when somebody tells them off over something that they did something wrong, it's just to improve their character. They don't have to get defensive about it. He says, and be extra careful to distance your children from bad friends, from people that are from a toxic environment. Don't let them be. They shouldn't be comfortable to swear. Like being overly joking. All things that are ugly or anything that's similar to it. וצריך חוכמה ודעת לרדת חדרי בטן הבנים ולגלגל עמהם כראוי לפי דעתם ולפי השנים. And this, what we just mentioned, is not so simple. Everything that we just mentioned is difficult work. You need wisdom, you need knowledge to go into their kishka, חדרי בטן הבנים. You got to go into the insides to see what makes them tick. And to roll with them and roll with the punches and understand their psyche and their mindset as they develop throughout the years. Meaning what? Don't think it's like set in stone and that's how the kid is. It's not a cookie cutter. It's constantly changing, constantly morphing. And as the child grows and things go out of place, and you got to put it back, or if you need to merge or grow, there's so much things going on. Make sure you know how to manage it in every step of the way. Valkol, and above all this, everything that we just mentioned about education of the children, lishpoch nafsho lifnei Hashem, pour your heart out in front of God. That the sins don't withhold all of God's goodness from my children. Meaning they shouldn't be sinners, because a sin prevents a person from getting God's goodness. And that his seed, his progeny, should be holy of holies. Zera, the type of progeny or lineage that comes from him, that will be anashim. You know what's anashim? Meaning honorable people. I didn't forget the girls. V'gam al habanot. What about the girls, right? What habanot? Chiyuva ramya lechanechan. Whoa! It's even more. Not important, but it's a higher chiyuv, more of a need to educate them more than the men. Why? Because you have to argilan. You have to get them used to having good midot, good attributes, good characteristic traits. And also they should get accustomed to being okay with very little. Meaning not always being needy. Oh, I need more. Whatever they have is good enough for them. They should have beautiful eyes. So, what's Pele Yoetz saying over here? Mascara? Eyeshadow? That their eyes should be beautiful? No. Shiyu and Yafot, meaning that they have a good eye, that they see everything positively, right? Have a positive outlook on life. ושלא תהיינה עצלניות ולא דברניות. Don't be lazy and don't be a chatty catty. Don't talk too much. And they should be kshirot, should be kosher, meaning holy. באופן שעללוה בשערים מעשיה תוצא חן בשכל טוב. So much that when they talk about her in the gates of the city, you know that lady, you know that woman, what a woman, what an eshet chal, what an eshet chesed, you know what she does, what classes, what chesed, what the challah bakes, what the charity, you know, let that be what they talk about you. That she'll find favor in the eyes of people that look at her and speak of her. And you have to be very, very, very careful and overprotective of the girls. So much that chiyuva ramya, it's an elevated obligation on the father and the mother lechancha ulhargila b'vrachot hanaot v'tfilot u'mitzvat nida v'chala u'mlicha. So over here it's saying Isha yirat Hashem hititala, like Mishle says in Eshet Chayil, a God-fearing woman, that's who's going to be exalted. And that's what the mother and the father have to teach her, to do blessings before and after, that she should pray, and they should familiarize her with the laws of family purity, how to do challah, melicha, not so common today where we salt the meat. No, not many people do it. My best friend's mother still does it. I don't know how she gets the meat before it gets salted, and she does it herself. By the way, it's like a lost art, but it's still being done. But anyways, a woman should know to do that. Not so common today, but everything else, very relevant. Ushetet snua, that she should be very modest. Kol kevuda bat melech penima. As the pasuk in Tehillim says, all the beauty and the honor of a woman is when she is in the house. The honor of a woman is when she's protected in the house, not in the street. Pele yoetz. That's just 2 cents about chinuch.
You mentioned they should be chatty?
They should not. The woman shouldn't be so talkative.
The girl, okay. Isn't it a problem when the women are not chatty?
It's a problem because it's not a problem, it's a challenge. Why? Tishat kabin sicha yarda la'olam. 9 portions of speech came down into the world. 10 portions of speech came into the world. 9 of those portions went to women. And we're asking them not to be so talkative, right? But whatever, everybody has their challenge.
No, but the thing is, if it was, let's say, a baby stay with his father, he's never gonna talk. So it's good that he talks.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That the woman is not talkative, there's something wrong with her.
But you know what happens when you talk too much? I'll tell you what happens when you talk too much. Let me squash this. We're not about like nobody's putting a muzzle on your mouth. Nobody's telling you that. What we're saying is when you talk too much, there's gossip, idle chatter. There's when you use your speech, eventually just one thing leads to the other. And that's what we're talking about over here. Nobody's telling you to stop talking. We're not like cavemen, right? All right, let's get our first glimpse into chinuch with Yaakov. Let's take a look at his failures and his successes. If we go to Perek Lamed Dalet, Pasuk Aleph, I want to read a few pasukim for you. It says, "Vatetze Dina bat Leah asher yarda leYaakov." So now we have Yaakov, 4 wives, 11 children. 11 boys. And a girl. Dinah was Leah's 7th child. She had 6 boys and 1 girl. The last child was Dinah. What happened with Dinah? So on Aliyah Chamishi, in Perek Lamed Dalet Pasuk Aleph, it says, "Vatetze Dinah bat Leah asher yarda leYaakov lirot bivnot haaretz." Dinah, the daughter of Leah, that she gave birth to Yaakov, and later on we'll see, okay, Leah, we know this. The Torah doesn't give us extra words, a letter, or even a nekudah that is extra. Why tell me that Dinah, who's the daughter of Leah, we already know this, Asher yarda leYaakov, that she gave birth to Yaakov, I already know that also. If you're putting it in here, there's something to learn. We will learn it in a minute, but I just want to bring it to your attention. But it said Dinah bat Leah Asher yarda leYaakov lirot bivnot haaretz. She went outside to see the girls of the land. וירא אותה שכם בן חמור החיבי נשיא הארץ, ויקח אותה, וישכב אותה, ויעניה. Comes this individual called Shem ben Hamor from the Chivi people. He was a Hashu person. He was a Nasi, right? He was like in government. He was you can say like a minister or a general, and or in biblical times, Nasi is actually a prince. Vaikach ota, he took her, meaning he didn't ask her on a date. He grabbed her. Vaikach ota. Vayishkav ota, he had relations with her. Vaya'neha, and he tortured her. Rashi reveals to us, what does it mean he tortured her? He had relations with her in an uncommon way. Continues to say, in Perek Lamedalet Pasuk Zayin, I'm just going to skip over there. Now that this happened, ובני יעקב באו מן השדה, כשמעם והתעצבו אנשים ואכלו להם מאוד. When Yaakov's children came from the field, and they heard what just happened to their sister, they became sad, and they became angry. Ki nevela asa b'Yisrael. This is an outrage that has been done against the children of Israel. Lishkabet bat Yaakov, to do this to the daughter of Yaakov. V'ched lo yaseh, and this type of interaction or this type of scenario should have never happened. This type of event should have never happened. We go to Pasuk Yudalet. They're like processing what just happened, and they come back with a quote-unquote solution. ויאמרו עליהם, לא נוכל לעשות את הדבר הזה, לתת לאחותינו לאיש אשר לא עולה. Sorry, we can't give our sister to a person like you who's uncircumcised. כי חרפה היא לנו. חרפה היא לנו, meaning it's like a shame for us. Pasuk Tedvav, the following pasuk. אך בזה אותנאות לכם, but we found a solution for you. אם תהיו חמונו, לימו לכם כל זכר. Maybe you should circumcise every single male, just like we are. And they acquiesce, they agree to get circumcised, not just Shem ben Hamor, but the whole people of the town of Shem. Comes Pasuk Lamedalet, Perek Lamedalet, Pasuk Chafhei, and it says, Vayhi bayom hashelishi, biyotam koavim, vayikhu shne ben Yaakov Shimon velevi achei Dina, ish harbo, vayavo la'ir betach, vayargu kol zachar. And it was on the third day after their circumcision, and you should know that the third day is the hardest day after any sort of circumcision, or even if you get a hit. If you ever get a hit, usually like my kids, so funny, they come the first time that they get hit. The first day it's like a shock. On the second day they're like it hurts, and and they always like say, "Oh, take me to the doctor, take me to the doctor." Once you have enough kids, you know what happens. You go to the doctor, you wait online, and they always tell you it's viral, which means that they can't do nothing, or they tell you come back in a few days. And you're constantly like in doctor's offices and they don't do nothing for you. So you learn that in 3 days, something usually goes away. Yeah. So every time a kid comes to me with like I broke my toe, I twisted my ankle, I'm sneezing so hard. I told them in 3 days, boo-boo, go bye-bye. In 3 days, the boo-boo goes away. You'll see. And they counted with me. It really hurts today, but in 3 days it goes away. But in 3 days it really does. The hardest day is the third day. After that, it dissipates. So here, Shimon and Yaakov also know boo-boo go bye-bye, but they know that on the third day is very tough. Vahi bayom hashelishi, they knew on the third day was the most painful day after circumcision. It says, biyotam koavim, they were in pain. Because keep in mind, this is major surgery for adults. Yeah. It's not for an 8-year-old who just lays in bed and sucking on the chuppah. It's different. Vayikhu bnei shnei Yaakov Shimon v'Levi, come Shimon and Levi, the brothers of Dinah, they took the sword, vayavo al ha'ir betach, with full confidence. They came with a sword and they slaughtered everybody in that town. V'hagu kol zachar, and they killed every single man. Okay, no more background stories. Now we're going to dig. we're going to drill down to a couple of beautiful, beautiful, beautiful learnings over here. Let's start with something that's very interesting. How old was Shimon? How old was Levi? And how old was Dinah in this scenario? I always imagine them full-grown men. Dinah was like this gorgeous little 20-year-old. You're going to be shocked. Shimon was 13 years old and 4 months. Levi was 12 years old and 9 months. And Dinah was 8 years old and 2 months. That was their real age, as it brought in Seder HaDorot, as well as in Rabbeinu Bachir. However, I want to bring your attention, because this is now, when we're learning Torah, you got to find like these key words, because once you see them, you have to know this on your own. Remember, like for example, we learned V'haya and Vayihi. We said sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive, right? According to that, right? We learned about different rules, like like an Ish, Adam, Enosh. Those are 3 different types of describing a level of a person. If you pay attention over here, it says Vayikhu Shnei Bnei Yaakov Shimon veLevi. The 2 brothers Shimon veLevi, Achei Dinah, the brothers of Dinah. And once again, what do you have to tell me that? We know that they're brothers and sisters. We'll get to that in a second. Ish Harbo. Stop. Ish is a term that we use for an adult. It's not a nar, a young lad, or a yeled, which is a young child, or a tinok, right? And ish is an adult. So if you're telling me that Shimon is 13, Levi is 12, and how can you call them adults? So Torah Temima, not yours, David, mine, okay, says something very interesting. לא מצינו בכל התורה שיהיה קרוי איש בפחות מבין י"ג שנה. We never found anywhere in the Torah that when it says the word ish, that person was less than 13 years old. אבל בבין י"ג מצינו שקראו הכתוב איש. But when a person is over 13 years old, we found that he gets the title of the word ish. כדכתיב שמעון ולוי איש חרבו. Like we said, Shimon and Levi ish, which tells us that Shimon and Levi were both 13 years old. שהיו שעתה בני י"ג שנה הבו. That they were both 13 years old. Now you're going to stop me right now, but you said, well, Sharone, you told me that Levi was 12. Yeah. He was 12.9. Shimon was 13.4. Right? Yeah. So get your facts straight. So let's go to Rabbeinu Bachir. He clears it up for us. He says, והנה עד כאן דכוונת רבנו שכאן הכתוב איש היינו לשמעון. According to what you just taught me, according to the age, the only person that qualifies to be ish is Shimon because he's over 13. שהרי לוי עדיין היה פחות מבין י"ג שנה. Levi was less than 13. So he says, no, let me explain to you. Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, לחשבון 7 חודשים לכל אחד. Each one was born on a 7th month pregnancy. Leah was pregnant 7 months, 7 months, 7 months. She didn't go full term. נמצא לוי בן י"א שנה כשיצאו משם. Levi was 11 years old when he got out from the house of Lavan. הוסיף עליהם 6 חודשים שעשה בדרך. They traveled for another 6 months. וי"ח חודשים שעשה בסוכות, and another 18 months that they stationed in Sukkot. That's altogether 18 and 6, that's 24, that's 2 years. הרי לוי בן י"ג שנים. You see that Levi was exactly 13 years. בלכתם לשכם. He was, the time that he went to Shechem, he was actually 13. ונקרא איש. שמעון ולוי בהי שעתה בני י"ג הווה. At that particular time, Shimon and Levi were both 13 years old. How could it be? Well, they're only 7 months apart. Because they're 7 months apart, they can still be 13 in the same year. Thank you, Rabbeinu Bachya. Continues to say, it says, I want to go back to Dinah. You know, as a parent, I right away think what? What's an 8-year-old doing outside the house? Right? It says, but it said Dinah bat Leah. Why did Dinah go out? In my opinion, she's underage. But I also want to say, you know, I think that the 3-year-olds and the 8-year-olds of yesteryears are not the 3 and 8-year-olds of today. We know that, with the Rivka at 3, right, and all these stories that we have. So obviously it's not the same. Nevertheless, what is she doing out? Otzar Pshat gives us a few reasons of why she was outside of the house. Okay. But it said Dinah bat Leah. Dinah, the daughter of Leah, came out. Why? It says Yatzanit bat Yatzanit. Yatzanit is a girl that is constantly outdoors, outside. You know, there's some people that can't stay home. They always have to be outside. I gotta go to the mall. I gotta go to the park. I gotta always be out. And there's some people that love to be home. Right? She was a Yatzanit. A Yatzanit meaning she likes to be outside. Bat Yatzanit, the daughter of Yatzanit, meaning she got the character trait from who? From her mother Leah. Leah was also Yatzanit. Ki Leah gam yatsa likrat Yaakov shenema v'tetzeh Leah. When she did the transaction of the Dudaim with Rachel, what did she do? V'tetzeh Leah, Yaakov, you mind for the night? Let's go. Right? But Tetzeh Leah, she came out. So she said, just like Leah Yatzah, so too her daughter Dinah Yatzah. That's what she got that character from. That's what she got that quality from. That's Midrash Tanchuma says that. The Ramban says that. The Abarbanel says that actually it's not a negative thing; it's a positive thing. Bat Leah shayta tznuah. As a matter of fact, the reason why she is called the daughter of Leah, because she was tznuah like Leah. Who says that Leah wasn't tznuah? Who says that Leah wasn't modest? Who says that Leah was always out in the street? As a matter of fact, Rachel was the one that was what? The sheep herder for her father. She's more out. She's in the fields. She's the one by the well with all the sheep herders trying to water it. So Rachel is the Yatzanit, not Leah. Beautiful point from Abarbanel. Yaakov lo הכיר אותה כשבא אליה ברוב צניעותה, and the reason why Yaakov didn't recognize Leah, because he never saw her. She's always tznuah in the house. Furthermore, you see that her nature, her character, was to go out. But why did she go out? If she's a tznuah, if she's a good girl, if she's staying home, what grabbed her attention? It says, Lir'ot bivnot ha'aretz. She wanted to see the girls of the land. What does that mean? So it says, what did Dinah want to see? Rabbeinu Bachya says, Lir'ot benimusehen. I'm sorry, Tirgum Yonatan says, Lir'ot benimusehen. She wanted to see what the girls are like in the city. What do they do? Right? It says, Lir'ot nimusehem, tachshitehem, bigdehem, kedecha betulot. What kind of jewelry they're wearing, what kind of clothes they're wearing. Is it Gucci, Mucci, Lucy, whatever it is that they're wearing, right? What's the hottest thing? What's the hottest shirt? What are these girls wearing over here? You know, what is it now? Is it cuckoo? It's when she was out and about, she says, she heard music, she heard them dancing, and she followed them, right? It's like as if you like hearing outside of this door, like a car with a booming sound system. She's like, oh, what is that? what's that music? And she opens it up and she hears it and she sees people like jumping out and the car's bouncing and she likes it and she's getting closer and closer. She wants to see what's going on, right? I'm trying to like make it like palpable to what we see today. It's even brought that Shechem actually some way, somehow laid eyes on her, and he's the one that brought that. Shechem Hevi, Or HaChaim HaKadosh says, Shechem Hevi bnot haaretz saviv le'ol Yaakov. He actually brought these girls around his Yaakov's tent. V'hayu mishachkim b'chlei nevech, chlei shir v'tov, and they were playing with musical instruments, כדי שתצא לשמוע בקולם, so she could hear the music and hear them singing. And as soon as she came out to hear what the music is, he grabbed her, he kidnapped her, and he took her. Sechel Tov says another one. He says, she actually, you know when she stepped outside? To show everybody her beauty, because she was very, very beautiful. She had a very unique beauty to her dinah. In a little bit we'll discuss what was that unique beauty that she had. But she was very beautiful. The Sechel Tov says that she wanted to show, you know, let's see how my beauty compares to all the girls that are around. Am I still the prettiest girl in the room? So, to summarize, she wanted to see the girls of the land. What did she want to see? She wanted to see their ways. She wanted to see how they're dancing, if there's new dance moves in the market. She wanted to see their clothes. She wanted to see their jewelry. She wanted to see their hairstyles. And she also wanted to show off her beauty. You know, I can compete. Let me see. From here we see that every reasoning that the rabbis gave us, it looks like it's an avira, goreret avira. You have an idea which is somewhat harmless. I just want to see what's going on. I'm new to town. Let me just walk around, right? And what is that? Is that a new? Is that a mall? Oh no! Is that a store? And before you know it, you're like one thing drags, one thing leads to another. Avira, goreret avira. As a matter of fact, Or Daniel brings this something else unbelievable. This concept of avira goreret avira says that you should know that for a girl, kol kevoda bat melech penima. The whole honor and beauty of a Jewish girl is when she's not in the street. The whole beauty and honor and the preciousness of a Jewish girl is that she stays home. She doesn't go out too much. Why? Because once you go outside, if it's one avira, if it's one thing that you pick up when you're on the outside world, it leads to another, it leads to another, it leads to another, and it's dangerous. It brings the story of the Baba Sali. He says that Bnot Israel have to be very, very careful when they go outside of their house. And they have to be very careful about their modesty, their tzniut, and to make sure that they don't forego the limits that they allowed themselves in breaking the limits of tzniut. Because anybody who forgoes one thing or another, that is the source of all the trouble. Meaning, usually she wears a skirt down to her ankle. If she goes outside, she goes, okay, to my shin. Shin, below the knee, above the knee. Mini, Daisy Dukes. How'd you get there? All of a sudden, you look all you went from one thing to like the most vile thing in the world. How could you do that? That's what happens. It's avira goret avira. Avira goret avira. The Baba Sali knew that. You know what he did, the Baba Sali? It says, שהיה מביא תופרת לבנותיו הביתה, כדי שלא תצאנה לשווקים לטור בחנויות, אחת תופרים בגדים. He says that he used to bring seamstresses to the house. That they sew the clothing for his daughters in the house. They should not go to the markets. They should not go to the shuk, so they can go into stores where they sew clothes. He says, why? Rabbi Israel Yada, Baba Sali knew, Godel ha-sakana b'yitzia achutza. He says, you don't know how dangerous it is for a Jewish girl to go outside into the market. Furthermore,
doesn't that mean, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Doesn't that mean, I don't know Hebrew very well, but doesn't it mean that the beauty of the woman lies inside of her, not necessarily inside the house?
So a woman's beauty belongs to her husband, typically, right? That's why we cover the hair, because the hair is a woman's beauty. The most beautiful thing about a woman, apparently, is her hair. And the reason why they cover the hair is side of tzniut, and that tzniut is that beauty belongs only to your husband. The part of inner beauty, that's now you're talking lasagna, right? It's the inner beauty that's really like that's Shlomo HaMelech, that's Eshet Chaim. That even in the time of Tu B'Av, what would they say? They would say, don't look at the external, look inside, look at the family, look at the genealogy, look at the midot. And that's why they're all dressed the same. The poor girls borrowed white dresses from the rich girls. Meaning, if you're looking for money, we all look like millionaires today. Right now, don't let that dizzy your decision-making process. Look at what's the inside beauty of the woman. That's why also they say that the covering of a woman's veil, and when she gets married, why do they do that? That it's a sign that the husband says, it's the inner beauty that I'm interested in, not the outer beauty. It's another sign. So yes, it's the inner beauty, but on a pshat level here, we're talking on physical beauty in this particular drasha. Furthermore, I want to judge this whole story favorably. I want to give a kav zchut. A kav zchut. You know, there's always two sides to every story. The Chatam Sofer brings something beautiful over here. The Chatam Sofer, in regards to the story of Dinah and Leah, he says, "V'tetzeh Dinah bat Leah lirot babanot haaretz." He says, so Dinah, the daughter of Leah, went outside to look at the girls of the land. So we said over here, we know that Dinah is the daughter of Leah. Why are you telling me that? This is extra. Why do you have to tell me that Leah is the mother of Dinah? Rashi says, Shayta yatzanit kmo Leah. She had the same character as Leah, that she used to go what? Into the street. She used to be not a homebody. She used to go out. She used to socialize. The Chatam Sofer says this: Chalila v'chalila she'askir Leah tzadeket legnai. Be careful to speak negatively about Leah. Chalila. Vayitleah hakalkala b'mekulkelet. And to say that that this mistake was done because her original mother is mekulkelet. She's the one who's rotten from the core, and she passed it down to her daughter. This is why this happened, because her mother's like that. Rachmana litzlan mihai da'ata. God should save us from that type of thinking. Standing up for Leah strong. I love that. It says, "V'tetzeh Leah v'tomar elai tavo." When Leah went out to Yaakov and says, "Come to me tonight," what was her intention? Her intention was good. Her intentions were good. Because it says, Vayishma Elokim el Leah v'teled Yisachar. Her intentions were so good and pure that God listened to her, and she was able to bring down into the world the soul of the Torah learner, Yisachar. Shma Mina, we learn from this, if her action caused for God to hear her voice, and Issachar, the Torah learning tribe, came into this world, Ki Shama Elokim Yetziat Leah Likdusha. The reason she came out towards Yaakov is for Kedusha, in order to bring the Torah learning tribe into this world. Blishum Kavanah Shel Hanolat Haolam Hazeh Chas v'Shalom. God forbid you think it was for some personal enjoyment that she went, oh Yaakov, you're mine. Chas v'Shalom. You think the patriarchs and the matriarchs interacted in such a manner? These are holy giants, spiritual giants. So if that was the intention of Leah, and Rashi says she yatzanit kmo Leah, that she has the same character as her mother, and if his mother is holy and her mother's intentions were good, then what was Dinah's intention? Let's see. V'chi yatsa bita lirot bivnot haaretz. So when Dinah went out to see the woman of the land, what did she want to see? Hevlehem v'shtutehem. To see their nonsense. To see the things that are, the vain things that they occupy themselves with. Vehi nifreda v'nivdela mehen. to see what to stay away from, to see what to protect herself from. Look, this is not where I want to be. Let me see the women of the land. Let me see how corrupt they are. Let me see how vain they are, so I cannot be like them. Almost like, let me show an example of what I need. Let me have an example, a point to where to start to say, that's what I want. I don't want to be like. I don't want to be like them. Let me see the bad so I can continue to stay good. Okay. She did it so she won't do it in their ways. The same way that our rabbis teach us in Masechet Avodah Zarah on the 17th page on the second side. שעברו בפתח של בית הזנות, שעברו בפתח של בית הזונות, לחוף יצר ולקבל שכר, וכך יצאה לראות בבנות הארץ ראשי תיבות הבל. It says in the Gemara that, I'll just bring you an excerpt from this Gemara, that the people used to pass by the house of prostitution in order to see the woman over there and to subdue their evil inclination, to say, no, I'm not going to go in there, I'm not going to sin, and in order to reap reward. That you have this challenge in front of you and you're turning away from it. So they would actually go by those places intentionally in order to withstand the challenge and get the reward for withstanding the challenge. And that's why it says, Lir'ot benot ha'aretz. If you take the first letters of Lir'ot benot ha'aretz, it gives you the three letters, Lamed Be He Hevel, to see the nonsense. Lir'ot benot ha'aretz, Rashi Tevot Hevel, Vera'ot ruach shelahem, and how bad and wicked they were. What's the problem with that? What's the problem with putting yourself in the danger zone and trusting yourself to pass?
You're inviting temptation.
Say it again?
Inviting temptation. What if you don't pass?
100%. You trust yourself. Masechet Avot says, don't trust yourself until the day you die. You never know what the Yetzer Hara is going to come up with. You think you can beat him, and you might be able to beat him 100 times, but one-on-one he gets you. So you don't take that chance. And this is what they say over here. V'nimtzet yatsa lir'ot. Yes, if you look, it says lir'ot bivnot ha'aretz. She wants to go see, to check, to look, to do what? To see what to stay away from. But what happened? אבל לא חששה תהיה נראית מרשע עריץ שיאנוס אותה. She went to go look at the girls, but she didn't expect there to be a Shechem around the corner who's going to grab her, kidnap her, violate her, and create this entire story. So even though that she was just a girl that was tempted by the fashion, by the hair, by the music, by the new town, by the new environment, and all she was curious at the moment, and maybe that's all it was, and it was naive and innocent, but she was in the danger zone. She was in Shechem, and Shechem was around the corner. And what he did is he grabbed her, and he created this whole situation of how he fell in love with her and he wanted to marry her, and thus this whole story with Shimon and Levi and the people of Shechem.
But she was only 8. She was only 8.
Yes, sir. But they said that she was she was very beautiful at the moment, and in a second we'll see where that beauty comes from. ובאמת, look what the Chatam Sofer says. יש להאשימה בזה. She's guilty. She was at fault. כי פרצה קורא לגנב. I'm sorry, כי פריצה קורא לגנב. He says an open window says hello to the thief. An open window is inviting for a criminal to walk through it. She says she was in the danger zone. She should have never been. Continues to say, that, well, to summarize Hatam Sofer, because this will lead us to the next point. Leah, on the way of judging her favorably, in the way of judging her, lekav zchut. Leah was righteous. Her daughter was righteous as well. Dinah was tzadeket. And Dinah fell to the Rasha. Why? She didn't expect it. She was a good girl doing something innocently, but she didn't expect the evil that was lurking in the world. She didn't take it into account. Question: why, out of the 11 brothers, only Shimon and Levi saved her? So Shimon and Levi, we just established that they're what? How old are they? 13. What happens when you turn bar mitzvah? When you turn bar mitzvah, when you get to the ripe old age of age 13, right? You can decipher between wrong and right. You have the ability to know what's good and what's bad, what's wrong and what's right. So at 13 years old, Shimon and Levi, which by the way happen to be from the same mother, she's their sister. They say, Dinah was violated by Shechem. That's wrong. Let's right the wrong. I'm a bar mitzvah. I know that that's something wrong. I have something to do about it. At 8 or 9, you might be indifferent to it. At 10 or 11, you might expect the adults to take care of it. At 13, you know that that you can make the distinction between something being right and wrong, good or evil, and even take a stand, take an action towards it. And that's what happened. Because they were bar mitzvah, they were able to decide. And by the way, this is what we celebrated. That's what we celebrate the bar mitzvah, because we've come to the point where the man is not only able to perform mitzvot, but he can decipher between good and bad. And we tell him, start choosing for yourself. You have the ability, you have the maturity to choose good and bad for yourself at 13. Imrot Noam brings another point that is very interesting about Shimon and Levi. Why out of all the brothers it was Shimon and Levi? He says Shimon had a certain quality to him. He hated evil. Sana ra. Shimon yesh tamidah shel sinat hara. How do we know that? How do we know that Shimon has this quality where he can't stand evil? Because when Shimon was born, the pasuk says, "Vatahar od, vateled ben, vatomer, ki shama Hashem ki snua anochi, vayiten li gam et zeh, vatikra shemo Shimon." The pasuk that has to do with the naming of Shimon is that it says that she got pregnant, she gave birth, and she said, God heard me that I'm hated by my husband, and he still gave me a son. I'm going to call him Shimon because Hashem heard my prayers. So Or HaChaim HaKadosh says, because the word senuah, hated, is in the pasuk of the naming of Shimon, that they would call Leah zo ishto shel soneh, because before she got married to Yaakov, who was she slated to marry? Esav. Esav was hated. He was the criminal. He was a convict. He was the crook. He was sanu. So they would always tell her, ishto shel soneh. She's going to end up being the wife of the hated one, Esav. As it says, Vet Esav saneti. That's why Shimon, who soneh keneged as-soneh Esav Rasha. He hates anything that's evil. I guess his character has something that can't stand evil, that fights against evil, about anything that is wrong. מכאן רואים שהוא שונא את הרע בבחינת אוהבי השם שנאו רע. And what is the driving force of his hatred? His drive, the source of where he's drawing from is אוהבי Hashem, those that love God, שנאו רע, can't stand bad. That is the essence of Shimon. That he loves God so much, he loves justice, he loves Torah, he loves Emet so much, that when he sees something that is wicked and evil, he hates it. So much that he hates it that he acts on it. Remember that. That's going to come into play later on. What about Levi? Levi, why was his name Levi? Do you remember the pasuk? It says that Levi because Levi, Yaakov finally was needed. Why? Because we have Reuven, Shimon. Leah is holding Reuven in one hand and Shimon in the other hand. Levi comes, right? She says Levi means comes the word lelavot, to escort. She's like, Yaakov, can you help me with holding Levi? Nah, I need you as an escort to hold the third child, right? So Levi was always someone who went along with somebody else. So Levi went with Shimon. ששם של לוי תפקידו ללוות את ארון העדות. Even his job was what? To escort the holy articles of the בית המקדש, את הקדושה. He was escorting kedusha. And Levi also had this quality to him of sonera, of Ohavei Hashem, sinura. So Shimon and Levi had the same type of character trait, which is what? Ohavei Hashem, they love God, sinura. So when Shimon and Levi now are two brothers, imagine, they're both 13, right? They're both bar mitzvah, same age. They have the same type of character traits. For sure, they're like, good buddies,
friends.
right? And they see that this whole thing with Dinah happened with Shechem, that he was Me'am Hivi. He was from this nation called the Hivi. When you learn, when you read the Torah, you can read Unkelus. Unkelus is the Aramaic translation to the Torah. How do you say snake in Aramaic? Chivia. Chivia is another term or another word for snake in Aramaic. By the way, just to l'saber et haozen, that was one of the tricks that the snake used with Chava. He says, "What's your name?" She says, "My name is Chava." Chava? My name is Chivia. You belong to me. Look, we share the same name. Chava and Chivia. It's one of the things that he used to trick her. So over here, the nation was Hivi. What's Hivi? Milishon Chivia, Shu Nachash. So they emulated everything that is bad and is the opposite of Kedusha in the world. So they said, you know what? Look at the Shechem from the nation of the Hivi, and look what they did to our sister, and we stand for Ohavei Hashem Sinura. Perfect job for us. And what they say? Let's go get rid of them. It was like a perfect job for them. They got to live out their true essence by eradicating evil from the world. That's why Shimon and Levi were the two brothers that went and stood up for Dinah. There's a few other reasons. Remember, they like to right the wrong. That is their essence. Rabbeinu Bachya tells us that they found a heter. They found actually like not a leniency, but actually why it was permissible for Bnei Yaakov, Shimon and Levi, to kill Bnei Shechem. Because if you read the Pesukim, it looks like it's Dam Naki. What's Dam Naki? It looks like they killed innocent people. Why? Shechem ben Hamor said, I love Dinah. Hamor, imagine calling your father donkey. Hamor, can you go to Yaakov and propose for me? I want to marry his daughter Dinah. Okay, they come back, they said, look, you got to get circumcised and everybody has to get circumcised. Okay, convince everybody to get circumcised. I just want to be with her. And they all do it. And you think like, oh, well, great, look at these guys, they're so awesome. Like they're willing to get circumcised just so they can connect to the Jewish people. Just so Shechem ben Hamor can have Dinah and we can marry all their daughters. So you can see like, you know what, the people of Shechem were innocent. Shimon and Levi, what are you doing? How can you slaughter them? Their intentions were good. So it says no. They actually found a good reason by the law of why they deserve to die. Why? Because at this moment they're all considered Noahides, Bnei Noach. And Bnei Noach have 7 mitzvot. They have 7 mitzvot that they have to follow. And one of the mitzvot is that they have to follow a state of law, like rules and laws to society. And it says, Ben Noach she'avar v'ganav o gazal o anas bito shel chavero o pita ota chayav mita b'sayf. It says, and the law in civil society is for the Noahide that if he stole, if he robbed, if he raped the daughter of his friend, or seduced her, he must be killed by the sword. And the law continues to say, וכן הרואה אחד שבר לאחת מהן ולא דנהו להורגו, הרי זה הרואה יהרג בסייף. And anybody who saw the person rob, steal, rape, seduce a person, and that person did not kill or did not behead that person with a sword, then the person that saw it has to be beheaded as well. So what happened? We have Shechem ben Hamor, who violated Dinah. He, according to their law, he has to be beheaded by the sword. All 24,000 of Shechem knew the story, and what did they do? They didn't behead him. So under their law, they all have to be killed by the sword, and they just went to enforce the Noahide law. That's why they were all convicted to death by Shimon and Levi. Sharei Shechem gazal ve'anas ve'em ra'uhu ve'yaduhu ve'lo danuhu, because he actually stole, he violated, they saw him, they knew, and they didn't judge him to be killed by the sword. So they just exacted justice that their society failed to do. PARASHAT brings another thing in regards to Bnei Yaakov. Why are they called Bnei Yaakov, and why specifically Shimon and Levi? Again, we have 11 boys. Why we focus on Shimon and Levi? So it says the number one, that they were the brothers of Dinah, so naturally it should be them. But I could say that she had 4 other brothers. So why Shimon and Levi? He says not only that, the Malbim says, you know where the other boys were? They were busy. They were also in a war. As a matter of fact, if you want some Shabbat reading that's unbelievable in this week's parasha, open up Mount Loez. Over there it talks about the wars of the Bnei Yaakov during this time period. Maybe 10 pages of incredible war stories of the tribes. In this week's parasha in Mount Loez, look it up if you want a good Shabbat candy. But it says over here that the rest of the children were in these wars. They were fighting other people. So Shimon and Levi were just fighting the people of Shechem, but there were other wars. Furthermore, Rashi says, you know what it says?
They were younger than 13, and they were fighting war?
Yes.
Wow.
They were big giborim. They were like X-Men, superheroes. It says over here, Rashi says, Banu hayu, v'afa piken lo hitnagu kebanav, shelo natlu mimenu etza. He says, you know why it says, Shene bnei Yaakov, the 2 boys of Yaakov, to let us know that yes, they were the boys of Yaakov, but they didn't act like the boys of Yaakov. They acted like Shimon and Levi. What does that mean? If they're going to go and break this treaty that they had with the people of Shechem, and if they were going to go and kill them, go to Abba for advice. You're a child. Out of honor, out of respect, out of the fact that your father is knowledgeable and holy, go ask him. You don't do things on your own. So he says, Shnei bnei Yaakov, Adayin, they're still his children, even though they didn't act as his children. They didn't take advice from him. Okay, Matok HaOr takes us a few years forward, and he's right now we see that there are 13, right? It takes us to the untimely death of Yaakov Avinu. It says, "Higia sha'ato shel Yaakov Avinu lipater min ha'olam." When the time came for Yaakov Avinu to pass, what is Yaakov Avinu going to tell Shimon and Levi? Everybody gets a blessing. Shimon and Levi, your turn. Come get a bracha from Abba. You want to hear their bracha? Shimon veLevi achim kelei Hamas mechorotehem. In Perek Memtet, Pasuk Hey, he said, first of all, he doesn't give him an individual bracha. He groups them together. Shimon veLevi, okay? Achim, your brothers, meaning you have a strong connection. Klei Hamas, that you have the weapons of war, mecherotehem, meaning that you are fighters and you are. Say it again.
Hamas.
Hamas is over here is not thievery, but rather war. Klei Hamas, the weapons of Hamas, the weapons of war, mecherotehem, belong to them. Furthermore, you would think that in his language, he actually didn't give them a blessing, but rather he punished them with a curse. As he says, Achalekem beYaakov va'afitzem b'Yisrael. I'm going to divide you amongst Yaakov, and I'm going to disperse you throughout Israel. And the reason why he did that is because the Mefarshim tell us there was midah keneged midah, measure for measure. Because when they get together, they cause trouble. So Yaakov said, listen, when you guys are together, you're troublemakers. You know what I have to do? I have to separate you. Just like any good household. You know, you put two kids together, when they are too wild, what do? Go to your room or go to your room, right? Either that or one holds the wall and the other one holds the door. Right? You have to separate them. Why? Because when they unite, they do bad things to other people. Rashi says, אין לך עניים סופרים ומלמדי תינוקות אלא משמעון כדי שיהיו נפוצים. He says, Rashi says on the blessing that Yaakov gave them, he says, if you look deep into Jewish society, you'll find that you have very, very poor scribes and very, very poor teachers of young children, and they all come from the tribe of Shimon. And the reason why he did that, and that they should be dispersed throughout the land looking for jobs to be scribers and teachers to young children. V'shifto shel Levi, and the Levi, you'll find them all dispersed around the land of Israel, right by the silos. Why? Because they go by the silos in order to get, where's my turma, where's my maaser, where's my turma, where's my maaser. Remember, they always get like a tithe, they also get a portion of the fields. So they're always dispersed amongst Am Yisrael. They're never together. And even as people, they're not grouped in one place, they're all in different places. And Levi obviously has a much higher position because he's picking up things that are from, that are biblically obligated, like Truma, like Maaser. He did Derech of Kavod. Or Shimon's a little bit less, where he's a scribe and a teacher of children. However, what we just said right now is not negative. You can look at it as something negative, but it's not. Shimon and Levi accepted their role in society, and they considered themselves to be one of the most important people in the fabric of society in Am Yisrael. Why? They're teaching the children. You know how important it is to teach children? And they're preserving the holy book. They're preserving that the kids learn the Aleph Bet, learn the Nekudot, learn how to write, learn how to read. They are the ones that took upon themselves to preserve Jewish education. And the Jewish nation should stay in its purity. And it was specifically the role of these two tribes. Furthermore, we know that their answer to their father when he reached out to them, after Yaakov saw that they massacred the people of Shechem, what was his response? Vayomer Yaakov el Shimon. Yaakov tells Shimon ve'el Levi, achartem oti lavisheni be'shev haaretz. You sullied me, you embarrassed me. While all the people around, all the people of the land, Bakenani, Baprizi, all the different nations that are around me. Vani meten mispar. I'm a small number. I'm a small family over here. There are a multitude of people. V'nesfu alai, they'll gather up around me. V'hikuni, they'll hit me. V'nishmati ani uveti, and they'll annihilate me in my home. What did you do, Shimon and Levi? You're bringing problems upon the house. What was their answer? Vayomeru "Achezona yaset achotenu." So what? So you should make our sister like a prostitute? We should just let that go? They both had a very good answer. But the Midrash says over here, when they answered, "Hachezona yaset achotenu," they saw what they prove over here when they stood up to their father. Their father said, "Hey, you caused a big problem for the family. We're in grave danger." Did they say, "I'm sorry, I'll never do it again"? No such thing. They stood up and they said, "What? This is what they're going to do to our family?" That's a good midah. What's a good midah? You stand up for your family. You stand up for what's right. Doesn't matter if you're ruffling some feathers. What's right is right. That was their approach. They showed their dedication and self-sacrifice to save their sister. You always want a brother like that. You always want to have one brother that will go through anything to save you. You know, you got to have like one guy. It doesn't matter who's in front of you. You touch my sister, you talk to my sister. That's Shimon, that's Levi. Right?
Why did Yaakov get so mad?
Because of the danger that they brought upon him.
I mean, where's the bitachon?
Huh?
Where's the bitachon?
So it's always a good question, because we always picture them as angels, perfect spiritual angels. At the end of the day, they were humans. At the end of the day, they still had a human experience, and sometimes they also were weak in their emunah, and they were also weak in certain things. Because you have to understand, tzaddikim never rely on their zechut. They always feel like they're lacking. They don't feel that they have a no-limit credit card in the shamayim. You know what? I can go ahead. Don't worry. I got credit in the shamayim. That's gava. No, they always feel like, oh, what happened? Maybe I don't have. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I didn't shema with kavanah. Maybe I didn't wait. I only waited 5 hours and 59 minutes for the basar and chalav, not 6 hours. Oh, you know, they're always like chut ha'se'ara, and they always feel like they have no credit. As a matter of fact, in the beginning of the parasha, was Yaakov katonti mikol hachasadim. God, you've been so good to me. Look, I got saved from my brother. I don't know if I even have a credit with you. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm so tiny in my merits that you're so good to me. Similarly, is here. You could never say, "Oh, I've beat the Chon in Hashem. Don't worry, bring him on. We'll take on the whole nation." And we don't rely on miracles. We don't rely on our merits, and that's why sometimes we see the human side of even the patriarchs, especially Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And keep in mind, the whole Sefer Bereshit is Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim. This whole Sefer Bereshit is almost like a GPS that the patriarchs showed to all of their children for generations to come. So what they're showing us is when you get into a situation like this, and you might feel like that, or you might think like that, here's the way to get out of it. They show us the recipe, how you get into trouble and how you get out of it. It's more for us. Because keep in mind, so many other things happen to them. How come it's not in the Torah? Well, you have to go into the Midrashim, and you have to go into the Gemara to get more and more and more and more. But in reality, everything here is a cryptic formula of how to win life. And this was one of them. It's a good question, by the way. Thank you. Now,
What was the question?
oh, we can go back. Too long. I'll tell you after. So, Gama Achim Acherim, the other brothers, they were also witnesses to the sorrow and pain of their sister Dinah. And they also wanted to help her. But then Levi and Shimon not just wanted to help, they felt her pain. They felt her sorrow. And they took it upon themselves and said, it's personal. It's personal. It's like it happened to me. Meaning all the brothers, they wanted to help. But you know, there's different levels of helping, right? There's helping, I was like, I'm sad to hear that happen, right? Second one is, what can I do to help, right? It's so terrible. What can I do, right? Third level, whatever you need, I'm here for you, right? Whatever, you got my number, call me. You got my email, text me, right? Then comes the guy and says, come here, show me where they are, right? It's different levels of taking things forward. Shimon and Levi felt like it happened to them. It was personal. They took it upon themselves more than all the other ones because they had a chashuta tzara v'tkeva ki'ilu ze tzar ishi shelem, like as if it happened to them. V'adzaka shenimta bipehem, and the thing that they said, hakadzona yaset achotenu. It's not a proper word. I'm surprised that it's even here, right? How can you say that to Yaakov? Nav'a mitoch kef pnimi. There was an internal pain that they felt that their sister went through that. והשתתפות אמיתית בצער הזולת, and a real sharing of pain in their sister. Meaning they had an additional amazing quality, that they felt for somebody that in sorrow, not just a fictitious or like like on the surface type of pain. Real pain. It's like they felt the sorrow of Dinah. And they didn't find no peace in their soul until they exacted justice on the entire city.
But you said that the other brothers were fighting all the war.
Right.
So how can they be in two places?
They could have talked, could have done something else. It's not exclusive that, because they're there, they couldn't do it over there. They could have gotten involved also. What the Midrash is telling us over here is that Shimon and Levi had something extra above and beyond their brothers. Yes, they cared. Yes, they wanted to do something. But Shimon and Levi, because they felt her pain so much that they took it upon themselves not to wait for their brothers, and not to wait for help, but rather to get up and go and do it now because it was personal pain for them. It could have been a different scenario, but it happened because they cared for them. Furthermore, it says, Rak anashim misugam, only people with this pedigree, people that feel the pain of other people as if it happened to them, those are the people that are going to take their mesirut nefesh, their self-sacrifice and dedication to go from city to city to teach Torah and to give chinuch to the Jewish people in the world. The reason why Yaakov Avinu told them that is he saw that the character that they had, this brazen character, standing for their sister, it hurts for me that she's hurting. He says, take that to Torah. Channel that to Torah. Go take that azut, that koach that you have over there, and make sure that there's no way that those kids don't learn Aleph Bet. There's no way they don't learn Torah. There's no way that the Jewish people are going to lose their Yiddishkeit and good chinuch. Why? Ki kinat Hashem boeret belibam. Shimon and Levi, they're zealots. The love.
Fighters, right?
Their heart burns with desire to please God. And there's no way that it's better to please Hashem than to teach the children of Israel the Torah ways. As a matter of fact, in a shiur that we did about Shavuot, we were, the behind the scenes midrash is that we were standing there in the bottom of the mountain and we're supposed to receive the Torah, and Hashem says, nah. If I'm going to give you this most precious gift that's been here in the heavens for Tatka Dorot, right? For Tatka, I believe it was 974 Tatka Dorot, something like that, 974 generations, if I'm not mistaken, 974. Yes. 974 generations. He says, I want collateral. I want collateral. I want something to secure it. Haravon. So everybody came and says, again, the Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, everybody came with something, turned it down. And then Am Yisrael says, you know what's going to be our collateral? He says, our children. You give us the Torah, we'll give you our children. You give us the Torah, we promise that we teach this Torah to our children. Hashem says, time for Matan Torah. Here you go. The deal is that we give the children, that we teach the children the Torah. That's why this Mesima Kedoshah, this holy endeavor, nobody can perform it properly. This Kinat Hashem, like Shimon and Levi. And that's what they demonstrated over here. And that was their blessing. And it's not an onish. It wasn't a punishment. It was actually Yaakov's hidden intention that they were perfect for the job of educating and preserving Jewish chinuch and Jewish learning in Am Yisrael. Okay. I want to spend just a few more minutes and then we'll go. But it's worth it if you're on the subject. It's worth it. It's worth it if you're a parent. It's worth it if you're a child. It's worth it if you're going to be a parent in the future. It's good that you hear this. There's a milestone that we reach as Jews when we're able to choose between good and bad. Tov Mira. This milestone is also known as Bar Mitzvah. When a Jewish child reaches Bar Mitzvah, he's able to choose between good and bad. Did you ever wonder why we make such a big deal out of it? Like the Bar Mitzvah, like, it's an event. It's a big event. We celebrate. It's like the minute Hashem tells us this kid now can choose good and bad, wow, let's go. Bring on the meat, cold cuts, balloons, right? And we're ready to celebrate. Why do we do that? Why is it so important to us? Why do we celebrate in such a grand fashion?
To make an impact.
Say it again.
To make an impact.
To make an impact. Very good. You're very close. So, Rabbi Pinchas Friedman, famously known for Shvilat Pinchas, has a book called Ben Yata, just on Bar Mitzvah. And he has here something beautiful that I want to share with you. It's actually one of the things that I said in my son's Bar Mitzvah, and it was so impactful for me. I want to share it with you because this changed my outlook. And Baruch Hashem, when I see young parents over here, you need to have this under your belt, but keep you focused for the next 10 years until the Bar Mitzvah. You also save up for it. Magen Avraham, by way of Yalkut Chadash, says, Mitzvah al Adam la'asot seuda b'yom shena'asa beno bar mitzvah. He says it's a mitzvah to make a big seuda when his son reaches the age of 13. Keyom shenichnas lechuppah. And you know how that a bar mitzvah party should be? Like the way a wedding would be. How big is our weddings, right? The bar mitzvah has to be the exact same way. Mashma dahainu b'yom shenichnas leshnat hayud. Meaning, the day that he enters bar mitzvah, throw a party like it's a wedding. Continues to say, Rabbi Pinchas patach behaikra in Shir HaShirim. It says, Tze'ena ure'ena benot Tzion, b'melech Shelomo, ba'atera sha'atera lo imo, b'yom chatunato, u'b'yom simchat libo. So we know in Shir HaShirim, it talks about, there's a pasuk that says that we should go out into the street and the daughters of Zion, go take a look at the King Solomon and the special clothing, garb, and crown that his mother prepared for him on the day of his wedding and the day of his Simchat Libo, that his heart was so filled with joy. Go take a look at Shlomo HaMelech. On the day of his wedding, comes to say, "My chatunato." What do you mean his wedding? He says, "Chatunato bayom shene'esa ra'ui lekayem mitzvot haTorah." The day that he was, he came to the age that he can perform mitzvot. That's the chatunah. Shezo simchat tzadikim. That is the joy of the righteous. Ve'metai nasa ra'ui. When is he considered worthy? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak miyud gimel shana l'mala. Rabbi Yitzchak says from 13 years and on. Shebayom hazeh chova letzadikim la'asot simchat halev kiyom shechnat tzipah. He says on the age of 13, the tzadikim must do a simcha the way that they did a simcha for a wedding. Kava Yashar says, Chaviv me'od difnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's very, very precious in the eyes of God. Kshorei av sameach al zeh shezacha le'agia et beno lechiyuv kiyom mitzvot. God loves to see the father be to be overjoyed with the fact that his son finally came to this milestone that he can perform mitzvah. And only because of there's an obligation to do a big mishteh, a big feast, and a big joy and happiness of that day because of the happiness of the father that his son is now at the age of making mitzvot. Because on the day that another child turns 13 and begins to be a bar mitzvah, being able to perform mitzvot, he gives HaKadosh Baruch Hu a tremendous amount of satisfaction, nachad ruach, as it is brought in the Zohar. A few weeks ago, we read about Abraham It says, "Vayas Avraham ishte gadol biyom higamel et Yitzchak." It says that Avraham Avinu did a special type of feast on the day that Yitzchak was weaned or came to a certain milestone. Rashi says it was 2 years old, but look what it says over here. ויגדל הילד ויגמל ועשה אברהם משתה גדול בן יגמל את יצחק ושנינו כך במדרש. בראשית רבה says ויגדל הילד רבי הושעיה רבה נגמל מיצר הרע. It says when he ויגדל, when he matured, he became older, he says that's when he was graduating from having the evil inclination. כלומר בין י"ג שנה שאז בא יצר הטוב. He says when does he graduate from that stage in life that he only has Yetzer Hara? 13, because we know 13, Yetzer Tov enters the person. Up until 13, they only have Yetzer Hara. At 13, Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov. So according to this pasuk, it's actually not 2 years old, like Rashi says. According to Bereshit Rabbah, Rabbi Oshaya says that Rabbah Amar, that it's actually 13 years old. ויגדל הילד גדול ביום הבר מצווה, ויגמל נגמל מיצרה, וביום ההוא, it says, משתה גדול ביום יגמל יצחק עשה אברהם. So we see it's 13, that he doesn't have Yetzirah, and Abraham did a party on his bar mitzvah. So we see that Abraham Avinu is the first one to do the Saudah of a bar mitzvah to his son, Yitzchak. Furthermore, we learn from this that also we have to do a Saudah just at the same caliber where when he does a Brit Milah. ויגדל הילד ויגמל ועשה משתה גדול ביום יגמל את יצחק, ביום יגמל יצחק, היינו ביום הגמל. When you take the word higamel, you have hey and gimel, that's 1, and mem lamed, that's 2. Hey and gimel, hey is 5, gimel is 3, that's 8. So biyom hey gimel mal, on the 8th day when he gets the Brit Milah. So we see that the same thing applies for when? Brit Milah. So what 3 parties you have to save up for as a parent? Brit Milah, Bar Mitzvah, and a wedding. Now, all that learning was to understand this point. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, this is in Gemara in Shabbat, the 130th page on the first side. Kol mitzvah, hold on, press record. Press record. You need to, this is something you need to remember. Not there. Just virtual, in the mind. Kol davar shemkablim oto besimcha, anything that you take upon yourself with joy and happiness, mekaymim oto achar kach tamid besimcha. Anything, every time that you do something with joy, every single time after that, it will be performed with joy. Meaning when the essence of the mitzvah in the beginning is with joy and happiness, it's embedded in your DNA and your children's DNA and your children's DNA forever and evermore. Where do we get that from? Avraham Avinu. Did you notice that up until whatever the current political climate in Israel, but before, just a few months ago, do you know any Jew that wouldn't get a Brit Milah? No such thing. Why? Because Avraham Avinu did it with joy, happiness. It's embedded in our DNA. It's besimcha. You know the lighting of the candle of the Chanukiah. You know how much simcha was when we won the war and we lit it again? It was embedded into our DNA with such simcha that you see, when it comes to Chanukah, they come out of the woodworks. It doesn't matter. Religious, secular, conservative, reform, affiliated, not affiliated. Why does every Jew love to like Chanukiah? Maybe it's an easy mitzvah. And maybe it's also, like you can drive and you can, it's like on a Yom Chol. But nevertheless, the simcha of that mitzvah is embedded in everyone's DNA. You see, certain mitzvot everybody does. Not everybody shakes a lulav. Not everybody sits on a sukkah. But for some reason, everybody likes a Chanukiah and everybody gets a Brit Milah. Why? There's a simcha. How does that translate to our learning over here? מבואר שכל דבר שקוראים אותו בשמחה, מקיימים אותו כך תמיד בשמחה. זהו העניין לעשות סעודה ביום ברית מילה. So why do we do the סעודה בברית מילה? Because we do, look what a simcha we do. Right? Imagine, the first mitzvah, what a party! Why? Because it's in us to do it with joy and happiness, and we pass it on like that to our to our children. וזהו עניין מסעודת מילה. לגלות בזה שהוא מזרע ישראל, to reveal to everyone that he's from the progeny of the Jewish people, שקיבל עליו מצוות מילה בשמחה, he accepted upon himself the mitzvah of circumcision, and he's still doing it בשמחה. Just like Abraham started it, us, thousands of years later, are still doing it with joy and happiness. That's what we say, כשנכנס לברית מילה, כן ייכנס לתורה, לחופה ומעשים טובים. Why? What's Torah? That's bar mitzvah. Chuppah, that's the wedding. Why? Those are the three parties that you have to do b'simcha. Why? Because when you do something out of joy and happiness, when you're celebrating it, it's instilled in your children. In conclusion, from this lesson, from the beginning, from where we started, we need to teach our children Tov Mira. That's our job. That's chinuch. It's the onus is on us. We have to teach our children how to choose good versus bad according to the ways of the Torah. That's the chinuch of Abba and Ima. It's our job to teach them derech eretz, midot tovot, as the Pele Yoetz told us earlier in the class. And the onus is on us as the parent to be successful at every age of the child's life. We got to roll with the punches. You got to goo gaga when they're 3, and you got to teach them Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet when they're 4, and you have to teach them algebra when they're 8, and you have to teach them Ta'amim when they're 13, and Mishnayot and Gemarot. You got to, and as and teenagers, I can't speak on that. I'm just entering that world, but obviously you have to know what to do with every single step of the way. So everything that we learned today, look at Dinah. Dinah, what did she do? She was curious. She was curious. She was an innocent little girl that was curious. Let me see what the girls are doing. The new style, the new fashion, the new hair, the new music, whatever it is. But what happened? She went to the wrong place. Right? Today, we don't have our girls coming out of a tent and there's a shem on the corner. It's different. Today we have social media, right? They go on social media to see the hair, the makeup, and the clothes. But it's also, there's an unknown danger zone over there. Why? Because an avera goreret avera. Avera goreret avera. The whole idea is to never take chances. Don't trust yourself and don't trust the place that you're in. On social media, there's a shem around the corner trying to grab you also. There's an image, there's a thing, and you don't know when you're going to fall. You might stay strong 100, but the one time that you fall, there it is. It's just not worth it. You have to play defense. Don't trust yourself. You don't walk by, you don't walk by, like the example that the Gemara gave us, you don't walk by a house of prostitutes to get a mitzvah that you would stood the chance. You don't do that. You just don't go. Because Shem is around the corner. The spiritual Shem is around the corner. Dinah was vulnerable. She was naive. She was 8 years old. And the parents have to protect children at that age. But even with Yaakov, that she was the daughter of a righteous child, still, she got caught up in a trap with Shem. Shimon and Levi, they matured to the age of 13. They got to the point of knowing Tov, Merah, Tzedek, Ve'emet Ba'olam. They wanted to enforce justice in the world. And Hashem chose them to personally personify that in Am Yisrael and teach the Jewish people. Meaning he channeled their energy, their zealotry to what? To chinuch. To teach us. That's how we have to be with our kids. That's how we have. They're going to take my sister and act like that. They're going to do that to my sister. They're going to shame our family. Substitute that energy to your family. That my kid should not know Aleph Bet. That he should not know Pesukim in the Torah. They should not know Mishnah. They should not know Gemara. He's not going to read the full parasha in his bar mitzvah. Take that energy like, wow, my children. They learn in school. The teacher will teach them. No. There's a children's class on Shabbat. No. You don't let other people raise your kids. You raise your children. And this celebration of the milestone of knowing the difference between tov and ra and choosing good, we do it with simcha. Notice, Brit Milah, besimcha. Bar mitzvah, besimcha. Getting married, besimcha. Why? Any mitzvah that you do with joy and happiness continues to be with joy and happiness. And that's the job of a parent. The job of the parent is not only to be happy when he's wearing a tuxedo and spent $100,000 on food. It's something else. It's that shri simcha every day. That every day you're teaching children the Torah life with a smile. That every day you're teaching children how the Jewish way, besimcha, without chaos, without anger, without finding the right path. Chanuch et hanar lefi darko, as we said earlier in the class. And how do we succeed? This harsh task of raising children in 2023. Tavshin Pei Dalet. It's not easy. It's the hardest that it's ever been. Like Yaakov Avinu said, le'iti, slow and steady wins the race. One beracha, one mitzvah, one pasuk, one mishnah, one tap on the shoulder, one rub of the kippah. To laoded otam, l'sameach otam. Slow and steady wins the race. And once you do that, then you've copied the magic formula for chinuch as it's taught to us by the Torah and our patriarchs and our matriarchs and our sages. Be'ezrat Hashem, that we merit to succeed in our chinuch yeladim, that we merit to protect our children from the Shechem of today's, which is the screens, and we have to protect them to make sure that they're not with the wrong friends and the wrong teachers and the wrong environment. Always ask, where are you going? What are you watching? What are you doing? What's on your screen? What are you going to watch? Don't trust. Shechem is around the corner. I'll just give one last example, 60 seconds and I'll be done. I trusted so much technology. I think I shared this with you before. My children, they need a computer for school. They have projects. Now they do all these things. Yeah, sure. Definitely. I went to Walmart. I went to Target. I got a netbook with a touch screen, with a this, that. Okay, here. Great. Took a half hour. Parental control. Everything is locked. This, that. Everything is good, right? It's safe, right? The next day I open up and there's a screensaver with LGBTQ plus minus question mark right on the screen. What happened? I protected everything. What? Google decided we're celebrating the month. You can't delete it. You can't take it off. I got two girls holding hands on the screensaver. My daughter's coming to me. Why did you put that picture? I told her by mistake. I took a picture from the webcam and I put my picture there instead.
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. You have to watch out because Shechem is coming. The Yetzirah is coming. Hashem Baruch Hashem Sameach Hashem. Show be successful in child raising.